Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today I thought I would do a little video on the EK trim punches. I had a viewer who had some questions about lining things up and really how to use these. So I have some examples here. And I'm actually going to be punching so that you can, it might help you. And not only her, it might help somebody else. So I do recommend the EK. They are compact. You can make them compact, and there's a little lever here that you can go like that and it opens it up, and then when you're done you just kind of close it up and then you clasp it, and it's great for storage. So that's the first thing about these that I really like. And this is the large punch, but they also have smaller punches, and they work exactly the same. And I've got some examples here for you to do. So I have 65-pound Coordinations cardstock. A lot of the times when I do punch, I have to stand. I've got aches and pains in my wrist and joints, and it's just easier for me to stand up and punch. Put my weight down on it. One thing I like about the EK tools is that I can actually get heavier weight cardstock in there. Here's the 80-pound American Crafts, and then this is the Coordinations heavyweight 110 pound. Now I don't know if it's made for 110 pound. I do know the Coordinations 110 pound works. Now, every paper manufacturer has 110 pounds that they list it as. Some are heavier than others. So I just wanted to point that out. And I do have, and I want to try this. This is the Basil Heavyweight. And I don't think I've used that yet to try and punch. So we're going to see if we can punch through the Basil Heavyweight on that here. But let's just start off here. With 65-pound. So the thing is this little bar guide down here that you see is actually going to help you line up your next punch so you can get a nice continuous punch. When I start, I usually just bring my paper, slide it in, and I just come to the edge. And you make sure that your paper is straight up against this paper guide. And then you punch. Okay, so that's what your first punch would look like. Now, to get a continuous where you're not getting a line or you're not overlapping and punching back into your trim and messing it up, what you want to do is, this is where this comes in, and you're going to line it up, your trim, to where it fits right over the white or grayish color, not the silver, but the gray. And it will line up one way. You'll see if you were just to place it there, it's not going to line up. You can still see some of that light gray through your trim. You're going to move it over until it fits and it covers it. So I'm going to bring that up. So if you just stick it in there, you can see it does not until you, this is kind of difficult. So if I was to punch right like this, it would mess up or it would leave a gap. So the idea is to line it up until you see nothing through there except for your silver. I hope that that makes sense. And I'm going to line that up a little bit better. I'm holding this up. I should just zoom the camera in here. And I think that's the best bet, because holding it up is not going to help me much. There we go. I think we're back in focus. So again, if I was to just stamp it right now, you can see through there it is not lining up. You can see stuff through there. So if I scoot it over and I match up these exactly, now all you see is the silver, and that is what you want. So it's not that hard. You just want to make sure that you line that up, and then you can punch. And as you can, whoops, come on camera. You can see it does a nice continuous. And so for on this side, I'm going to bring it over this way, and I'm going to do the same thing. Here's the edge. I'm just going to shuffle it over until I line up. And I don't see any of the light gray. I just see the silver. And I'm going to punch. And I'm going to continue on. Oh, I'm shaking today. And you can see it was a very beautiful punch. It went through. And so you'll have a bunch of confetti that falls down the bottom. I also, and this one is called embroidery. I really like that. It's a pretty design. I also grabbed Floral Vine because it has a lot of different cutouts in it. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the 80-pound American Crafts. And I am going to stand up because it's so much easier. But I'm just going to bring that right on in there. Make sure it's up on the paper guide. And I'm going to punch. So now to get this side, I'm going to do the same exact thing, and I'm going to line it up till all I can see is the silver. And punch. Come on, camera, focus. And I'll come over here, and again I'm going to line up until all I can see is the silver through there, and there's no light gray. This is straight. And I'm going to punch. And I'm going to keep going. So continuously long. Okay, so this is the Coordinations heavyweight. It's 110 pound. There's all that confetti. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate. You can get it through. I don't know if this is really made for that, but I have been doing it. And my punch hasn't fallen apart or the spring broke yet, so it's all good. Some other makers of punches, they're cheap. And I stay away from them because even if I'm going to use 65 pounds, they don't last that long. And I'm really hard on my tools, so that's why I recommend EK tools. They do last. I haven't had a problem with them. But I have where I've bought cheaper punches. It's a great deal, a beautiful trim, but the spring after a while, it just breaks and they no longer punch, or they just get really dull quickly. So that's why I stick with this. So this is the 110 pound Coordination. And again, I'm going to line it up. And I'll keep going with this. Now I did want to try the basil. So again, this is the basil, and this is, they call it a heavier weight. It's about 110 pound. And I'm going to go ahead and try it on this punch and also the wider punch here. Let's give it a shot. So I still have the trim on. I'm not going to worry about chopping that off. Let's see how it does. That is just a little too... Okay, the basil is very thick. It did punch through, but it looks like this got caught. Let's try it again. I didn't feel like it was breaking, but it may be it's just too thick of paper. Let's find out. I'm going to do it again, see if it locks up. Well, it didn't lock up that time. It could have been the switch was moved around. I'm going to continue. You will know when you're punching how much resistance. If you're pushing down on your paper and this just does not want to go, it's so, I mean, you're going to have a little punch and put a little, but you know, look at it, happened again. And I don't think the basil is a good choice. I would stick with something like the Coordinations, but it's cutting through it, but it's getting stuck. And that's an indication that may be just too thick to do. And I'm going to try it on this one, but if you notice when I went down, it would get stuck. That is because it's not liking the thickness. It's not that it wasn't cutting, it was that it's getting stuck. So basil is one that I probably would not continue to do unless I only needed one trim and I'd have to unlock it, but I don't think that it's good for your punch. So let's try this one. I'm going to flip this around. Let's take a look. No, they lock up. Basil is not a good heavyweight brand to use on your punches. So I hope that that was helpful for you. I did not break my punches when I did try to do that. It cut right through. It was just that it was jamming up. And that is an indication that it does not like the paper and you probably shouldn't do that. I'm going to scroll back out here. Zoom out. Alright, so again, to store these, you just close it, push the lever, and they store really nicely. I have a bunch of mine stored on the shelf and stuff. But that's basically how you use these. As far as, there used to be like the old Martha Stewart ones, punches, and I love those, except they could not go through the coordination's 110 pound. You're pretty limited on the paperweight. I don't know if it would go through 80 pound. I do have some old ones. They don't make these anymore. But I will tell you that the mechanism to push down here with your palm or using your hand, I like this better because it's wider and you have more palm pressure to do. That is pretty much all I have to say about the trim punches, and they're a lot of fun. They're a lot quicker than using a die cutter, and there's so many different designs on trims that you can get. So let me know if you have any questions. This is just a real basic overview. These will not go around the corner. These are not corner punches. I mentioned Martha Stewart. They used to have where they had designated corner punches that coordinated with the trim, and that was really cool, so that you can actually do a frame around. But I think at one time, years ago, on YouTube, I did search out how or if you could use a straight trim to actually somehow get a corner punch out of a straight trim. I want to say I found something, I stumbled upon something, but it didn't stick with me because I had a hard time with the technique. But you might be interested in just kind of going over YouTube and checking that out. Happy crafting, and I'll see you real soon.